Hey, what's up? We back at it again. This your boy Elijah. Welcome back to Lenses How I See It. Another edition of Humble Dad. Got a special guest for you. I remember just saying, "Hey, can you do this for me?" I know you watch the show or whatever, but maybe it's your time to shine, basically. And the guy said, "Hey, well, just send me what I need." And I sent him the link. Within about 30 seconds, he had already plugged in the time to be on the chat. So that just tells me it's going to be a good show within itself. So let's welcome to the stage, Mr. Kevin.
Hey, man.
What's up, dude?
Oh, not much. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely, man. This is you've been recommended by two different people, actually. I don't know if you knew that.
I don't know if that's good or a bad thing.
But yeah. Well, we recommended as a humble dad.
Yeah.
I would say that's a good thing.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to dive right into it because I honor your time. The first question is, what do you feel like the difference between a father and a dad is? Or do you feel like there is not a difference?
So I kind of feel like the pendulum swings two different ways. Like I can remember back when we got two daughters. I can remember the very first time, filling out paperwork for a birth certificate and seeing on there, okay, it says father's name, mother's name, all of that. And so when I think about father, I think of this more formal title. That's really, to me, that's what, when I have a child, that's just what I am. So I kind of think of it in three ways, right? Father, dad, daddy. So I'll kind of walk you through that. Okay. So father, I see as this kind of formal, very formal term. I'm my kid's father. That's what it says on their birth certificate. That's what it says on their school records. And then also their dad, which I also feel is a little bit more of a formal, maybe less formal than father, but really too, even friends that I have that, aren't married anymore or divorced or anything like that. It's like, their kids say, hey, I'm going to dad's this weekend. I'm going to mom's this weekend. And then for me, there's this other level of daddy. And so really just for me, that's a person who is intentional with their time, a person who invests into the future of their children, who really just loves on them. In the spiritual sense, someone who points them to the Lord, points them to Jesus, wants them to grow in that facet, someone who wants the absolute best for them. And I feel like that daddy relationship is something that is just so much more rich, right? Something that's so much deeper. I can imagine you, like any of your kids, like when they call you daddy versus dad or father, it probably means more, right? It's more intimate. And that's kind of just it, that's kind of how I think of it and how I kind of break it down.
That's what's up. Nobody has ever gave the third one. Okay. Like I've heard. And so that's interesting that you stated that dad is simply like, maybe I have to go to my dad's house.
Yeah.
It's not as, that makes sense. I'm going to tell you why, because I didn't think about it until you said that, because I was just trying to follow your thought process. But as an individual that was not raised by his dad or his father, like I say, like I feel weird giving him the title dad, even though, because I don't have a daddy other than my heavenly father. So when you say, so now I'm like, okay, I can say that is my father or my dad, right? But other than that, he's not my daddy though. That's what's up. So that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, for sure. So I want to go back to when you were a kid, right? And I want to talk about your dad or whoever was the father figure in your life. Take me to about when you were elementary age.
Yeah. So going back, I mean, I was very fortunate. I grew up with my dad, my father in the home, and my dad. Earliest memories that I have is he worked a lot. he was a very, very much just kind of what we considered more of a blue collar worker. He worked with his hands his whole life on machinery and things like that. And I always just remember him working so hard. I know that it was for the benefit of the family, but I think also at the same time it was at the detriment of the family, right? Detriment of his children, of marriage, and I think that can just happen so easily in allowing your job or really just trying to provide be such a main focus in your life. And so for me, Dad worked a lot. Dad woke up about 3:30 every morning, especially during the week. He would get off about 4 o'clock, something like that. He'd come home, be exhausted, working a really long day, working with his hands all day. It was a very, what's the word I'm thinking of? Just a really precise job that he did. So imagine just, mentally he's tired, physically he's tired. He's been a long time. What did you ask what he did? Yeah. He worked on turbine engines for a subsidiary of Caterpillar called Solar Turbines. So he retired from there just a couple of years ago. But really kind of my whole life was Dad working a lot. And then especially kind of earlier in the childhood, Dad's sleeping quite a bit because Dad'd be tired. And so my relationship formed naturally closer with my mom. So I grew up in a Christian home. We were at church, when it was open, we prayed together, and things like that. So I feel very, very fortunate to have that upbringing. And although for me, early on in my life, and it shifts, early on in my life, Dad was there, but kind of not there, if that makes sense. He was there physically in the sense that he was in the room or he was in the house, but a lot of times he wasn't there because he was asleep or he was just exhausted. And I, being a dad and a working man and all of that, now I can understand more of that.
For real, right?
Looking back on it. So I don't know if you want me to keep going as I got a little older.
Yeah, for sure. Then was there a transition that happened? Like, when did the transition happen as far as like that?
It seems like a little more junior high school. It seems like he didn't work as much. My mom was also back working full time. So we were very fortunate too. I never had to go to daycare or anything like that. My mom stayed home with us. And so, which is why he worked so much. So as the tides kind of turned, we got into school. Mom started working in the school district, allowing Dad to cut back some. Dad was a lot more involved at that point. I just feel like he wasn't exhausted. Like I said, he probably was those first, 6, 7, 8 years. That seemed like to me. Remember doing a little more with him. We never played a whole lot, like didn't get out and do catch a ton or anything like that. We did some of that. Some of the things my dad taught me junior high and high school were how to work with my hands, which is why now I really enjoy doing carpentry work, and I really enjoy fixing things and kind of being a handyman, so to speak. But some of the things that my dad showed me kind of in those latter years before, becoming a 18-year-old adult was that he was there for me. And so there for me, meaning he was at, every single event he could possibly be at for me. He was, he was trying to be a part of my life as much as he could. And so I always felt that latter part of my adolescent life more supported and more connected to my father, but now moving more into college, getting married, having babies, buying houses, stuff like that. I have a much better relationship with my father than I ever have. And I think that's because now I also understand where he was at in those early years. For me, for a while, it was really easy to just kind of be, not even be upset, but just kind of not understand why Dad was checked out. Why was Dad checked out all the time? And like I alluded to earlier, just being a dad now and working and being a husband and, running a household and doing all of those things, I can understand, especially someone who was working in a job that required a lot of him physically. My job is a lot more mental than it is physical. I sit at a desk or stand at a desk or whatever
Yeah.
it might be. And I can also do it from home, which he never, ever, even before, COVID, I was doing some from home, and he never in a million years would have been able to do that. And still today, my parents are like, you work from the house? Like, how do you, I wish I really would have had that, back in the day, but but now, my dad is just someone I can go to for advice, someone I can go to just kind of hear me out. He's a man who I know loves me very much and supports me and my wife and my kids, and he's a great grandpa, or they call him Pop Pop. But he loves those girls, and so it's really neat to see him with them.
That's what's up. So when did you come to the understanding of the value of what your dad was doing? Like, what was there an age that you can remember that you was like, okay, that's what you were saying? You were stating that,
right? I think it was more as I thought about marriage and thought about my future and all of that, what I wanted to be, kind of what I wanted, what I had the ability to shape, and what I had the ability to mold. I think probably later on in high school, maybe early college, especially when Katie and I started dating, it was, okay, like Katie and I were dating, and very much so, the Lord was like, this is the one, and this is who you're going to marry and have a family with, and all these things. And so it's like, okay, how, what do I take from what I saw my dad and mom? What do I take from that as a leader of the home, as the husband, but also in an aspect of children? What do I take from what I learned from him? What do I want to do like him? What do I want to do differently? And then what do I want to do that he maybe never did? Is kind of how I thought about it. And so
you was thinking, wow, you was thinking about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's mainly kind of in the relationship,
Okay.
kind of dating and engagement stuff.
What age was that? You said?
Do I?
What age was that?
I was probably like, I think 21, 22.
Wow. Wasn't thinking nothing about that. 22. But okay, congratulations on that.
Thanks.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay, so you're thinking about all of these things. So what was the thing that you was like, okay, I want this a part of my dad, but that part not so much. What was that?
I think one of the most important parts, through my whole life that my dad did was always have us in a Bible believing preaching church.
Okay.
And so that was one thing I for sure wanted to take. I knew, for my wife's sake and for my family's sake, I wanted to be somewhere where, we were not just attending, and, not just sitting in the pew, not just doing the check the box on Sunday morning thing, but a place where we could serve, and a place that we could be a part of the church. So I saw my dad serve in different capacities of the church throughout my life. I saw my grandfather or my grandpa serve in the church as an usher, and just all kinds of things throughout my life. And so I just felt like I had really good examples on some of those ends. Another thing that I wanted to take from my dad too was just to have it in things, and in certain times, especially, to have a meek spirit. My dad can be very meek, and can seem, he can maybe seem scarier than he is. He's a big guy, but he's also just very gentle. And I think the way that he speaks can be really, really gentle and very meek. All of us can speak very gruffly, so of course he can speak very gruffly. Yeah. But at the same time, too, how can I take the way that Dad used to speak on some of those instances, especially when he was gentle and when he was meek with us, and how can I do that? How can I form that into my own aspect of fatherhood?
That's what's up. So what would you say was the one thing that you was like, I'm gonna leave that alone, or maybe use it to be a little different with how I do that? I don't like how he did that, but I'm gonna take it maybe, and then I'm gonna kind of tweak it for myself.
I think some of it had to be had to do with just my early on rememberings of him kind of just being asleep and not even tying it to the job and stuff at that point, but just I wanted to be there. I wanted to be awake and I wanted to be aware and I wanted to spend time with my kids as young as possible as I could. And even to this day, it's my kids, they're not grown or anything. They're 5 and 6, but I enjoy the time that I get with them, not just as a family unit, but the time that I get with them individually. And I think that's something probably that my dad didn't do much of that I wanted to do more, was just kind of individual time. It's probably different too that he had boys and I have girls. So we can kind of go on these little dates and things like that. And they think that's the world. So just those are a couple things just really that come to mind.
You can still do it with boys though. Like,
I
have boys and like it depends on which one going. Like, if we just go bike riding, like they'd be cool with that. We go play catch, they'd be cool with that. Ethan, he's cool with just going to walk in the mall and just look around. If he has some money, he trying to spend it. So yeah, the same. I mean, you may hang out with them differently, like you say. You're dating your daughter, but like you're hanging out with your son. You know what I'm saying? So it's very, very similar. So with the statement that you said, that I was thinking about how you said I wanted to take away or leave, if you will, some of the things that my dad was doing when I was younger. How would you assess yourself thus far as the things that you said you wanted to accomplish as a dad? Well, how would you rank yourself from 1 to 10? Why are you laughing?
Because I know my wife is going to watch this later and she's going to be like, I don't know the numbers right. I mean, I like to think that I'm a pretty good dad. I mean, I love my kids. I love spending time with them. I enjoy time away from them too, which I think is very normal for any parent. I would maybe say I'm like a 6, 7.
A 6 or a 7. So you're just above average.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'm trying to hit that 10, but I mean, I feel like maybe I've also put it really high too, which I think is okay. Like I like to set goals and I like to work towards things and I like to try to get better at things.
Okay.
So yeah, probably 6 or 7.
Okay. So tell me, so since you're at that number, all right, I need to understand why are you at 6 or 7 if your goal is to get to a 9 or 10? Okay, so let me go back. So why do you say 6 or 7? And then maybe we could talk about how can you get to 9 or 10? Maybe word it like that.
I mean, I think I probably say 6 or 7 because I'm just a huge critic of myself. I'm the same way in the workplace. I'm the same way as a husband, as a friend, things like that, where I'm just super critical of myself. My wife would hopefully say I'm a little higher than that, but 8 or a 9. But I think, and even just to tie in kind of what you were saying, what can I do to get to the 10? I think sometimes it just has to do with my heart. And being a man and being a sinful man and being someone who enjoys a plethora of things other than my kids. Sometimes my heart is not in it. And I think that's what really downgrades me in it is I want wholeheartedly when I'm with them to, and the thing that I'm kind of bad at is when I'm with them, not being with them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like kind of just check out.
Yeah.
Right. So, even if I worked all day and, back when I was commuting, commuted home and done all the stuff and greeted my wife and then saw my kids, sometimes I just kind of immediately just kind of check out. And that's for my whole family. And that's something that I'm working on, constantly. But in my kids' life specifically is not being checked out. Like when I'm in the room, like I'm in the room with them. And
so
I'm not listening to them, passively and just kind of like, oh yeah, that's great. Then I'm really listening to what they're saying and watching what they're doing because they love to do cartwheels and do all the girl things and all that stuff. And so I think that's probably the biggest retractor for me is really just kind of it ties to heart and mind.
Yeah, because as they get older, go ahead and finish your thought. Go ahead.
No, you're fine.
As they get older, like probably right now they don't notice the checking out thing, but as they get older, they notice that you check out. So, like for example, I don't know if you ever met our daughter Gianna. She's 11,
Okay.
and as she's gotten older, she notices when I am actively listening, and if I am not actively listening, then she goes and does something different. Like she doesn't even say, "Dad, you're not listening."
Right.
she gone.
Yeah.
You know, and I had done that not recently, but I had been doing that because I was so used to doing that when I knew that they, it's kind of like when you read when you're reading a book to them, but you skip some pages, like they're not gonna know.
Yeah. I'm at the age now where one of them can read. She's like, no, this doesn't make sense. You skip some
pages. So it's a very same thing. Like if she's telling me about some music that she likes or a book that she's reading, like it's important for me to ask questions about that character or kind of get her thought on what she just said so that she can know that I'm paying attention. Or I can say, man, that don't make sense. And here's why. I don't see why that storyline doesn't make sense. So you're actually doing to have an idea that that's where your weakness is actually a strength. Follow me? So for you to say, I recognize my area of opportunity, and this is where I need to get better at, that's actually a strength that you may not be recognizing, but now so now you can do better, right? Just tune in, get off the phone. That used to be my thing. Like I'm texting while I'm talking, and she quickly dismissed that. So so I wanted to ask you a question based on what you had said in your introduction about fathers and dads and daddies. You said you wanted to show them how to put Christ first. You right? Now tell us, how do you show them how to do that?
I mean, the way I try to do it is by following the best example that I know, and that's Jesus.
Okay.
And so trying to be so Katie and I, when we got married and really kind of all through our relationship and getting into marriage, we've always been very focused on intentional relationships, or really kind of just doing life together type of things. And so I think that's part of what I'm modeling for my kids right now is, what's an intentional lifestyle look like? How do you define that? That doesn't mean necessarily that you're at the church every time the doors are open, because that makes you closer to God or more of a Christian or any of that stuff. But it's how do you choose what to do? How do you choose where to serve? How do you choose the people that you allow in your life, in your circle? And so for us, it's been, having them involved in church and involved in children's ministry, of course. Like, we love that. We love the people just pouring into our children. But at the same time, just talk first from a church perspective, I'm showing them, that daddy's involved. Like daddy's not just sitting there in the seat, taking up space, like doing different things. Like for many years, I've played drums. I actually just stepped away from that indefinitely because the Lord was like, you need to do something different. I have other plans for you, which is really hard for somebody who loves music and worships through that, right? And so I want them to see that too, that sometimes God takes the things we love and still takes it away because he has something better and something more grand and more focused for us. And so one of those being in our particular life is we lead a home group. And that for us has been where the Lord has really shifted my focus to on how do we, and it's not even just about growing it. It's about how do we teach other people to be intentional with their time. And we kind of started this year going off the father thing a little bit, but really just, drawing names from the hat and like, hey, you go get coffee or grab dinner or something with this other person. And then now we're doing the same thing with family. So you and this other family You're responsible in the next month to have dinner together, to go to the park together, whatever it may be. And so I'm trying to model that for my kids by modeling it for other people and leading other people through that, but also, walking with our kids through different studies of the Bible. They're both doing a Precept book right now for kids. Katie's a huge fan of Precept, and so whether it's her or I doing it, we're wanting to point them in the direction of God's word is true and God's word is correct, and it's the best thing for teaching, for correction, and it's the best thing ever written that gives us an instruction book on life. Because I heard my parents say many times growing up, "Man, I just wish I had an instruction book for you." And or I heard other people say, I heard other people say it about different things, and it's like, well, it might not be specifically for Kevin, or it might not be specifically for this one thing, but that's the closest thing to an instruction book that you're ever going to get, right? You can read parenting dummy books, all that stuff, but unless you're really soaking in what the Lord's laid out for you, I feel like you're missing so much, and even just missing so much in the fact that too, we were talking to some friends the other day about the whole father thing, and how do you explain God or God being a father to someone who had a terrible father or who didn't have a father in their life or whatever, and kind of my answer to them was, think of the absolute best dad or father or daddy that you could have in your life. And he's better than that, right? He's so much greater than that. He cares for you more than that person that you can think of does. He wants, more for you, and he wants to change your life, right? Just like I want to do for my kids, right? I want to help them navigate their lives, and I want to help them to be one day to be world changers. Not just be Christians, not just be teachers or businesswomen or whatever it may be, or wives, but I want them to go and be able to rock and change the world. And how do we do that? We do it through Jesus, and we do it through loving people, right? We love Jesus and we love others.
That's dope. That's a really good, thoughtful answer. I was trying to see where could I go with that, because you had a lot of nuggets in there. And you're saying you're talking to them about, are you mainly showing, or are you also having these conversations with them, because they're 5 and 6. Yeah. So, some parents don't have an idea of when they can have these biblical conversations with their kids. So what would you say? Do you do it more through action, talking, or a little bit of both? What's your strategy?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both, just kind of depending on the situation and the scenario. And, the really neat thing about having a home group is most of the time the kids are with us. So they get to see what's going on. They get to see the interaction. They get to see what we're walking through. So that is just a really good place to model it. But also at the same time, when it comes to serving at the church, serving in general, and things like that, we talk about sometimes about how we sacrifice our time for others, how we do things to what we would say is edify, but to help other people, right? Or build up other people. We talk about, using kind words, which is a hard thing for little kids to do.
It's a hard thing for big people.
That's how you make somebody feel better. That's how you edify them. Okay. And so I think through a combination of just multiple things, sometimes we sit down and talk about things more in depth. My oldest just accepted Jesus as her Lord the end of January. So we have a little bit more detailed discussions, as much as a 6-year-old can have. Yeah. And so
they understand more than people give them credit for, though.
Yeah.
They understand a lot more than people give them credit for.
Yeah. And in fact, what I was about to say is, I don't think you can talk about them too early about it, right? Mm-hmm. If they don't understand, they don't understand, but they're going to get bits and pieces. Yeah. I kind of think of it as if I go to, a leadership conference or a work conference or something like that, I don't always learn something brand new, but I take nuggets away. They're doing the same thing, right? They're taking bits and pieces of what you've said, and they're taking that away, and they're throwing it back in their memory. And sure, they might not remember it for a while, it might be a couple of years from now, they're like, Dad, remember that one time that you said this? And like, yeah, absolutely.
That's what's up. Yeah, my kids do that. They like to catch you in that era though, as well. You know what I'm saying? So if what I'm seeing is that as I'm teaching them or doing my, trying to teach them about the Word of God, what I notice is that they hold me to that same accountability, to what I'm holding them. It's specifically my daughter, Joshua and Ethan and Jordana, not so much necessarily. However, with Joshua, if in order for him to nobody wants to be punished, right? Have a discipline.
Mm-hmm.
However, Joshua is able to understand, even though he disagrees, that he's able to understand, or I'm sorry, if he doesn't want a discipline, he can understand why he got the discipline if you explain it to him, right? Like that's not in the Bible of how you should to raise your kid. But what I found out was if I could educate him on why he was getting disciplined, then he didn't hold a grudge as much towards me, as opposed to if I disciplined him and didn't explain why. For me, that's how it was growing up at times where, I don't think I ever got explained to why I was getting.
You're just getting a whooping because you did something.
I'm not saying I didn't deserve it. I'm just saying I don't know if that how much that helped me necessarily. So I said that to just say, like you're saying, you're talking to your kids and you're explaining to them things in the way that they will understand it, right? Because that's really what you were saying. Ultimately, I mean, I'm listening to who they are, and I'm explaining to them at the level that they get it. So when y'all did the precepts, did you do y'all do it at the church, or is there y'all going through it?
No, we do it at home.
Oh, okay, cool. Because the church has it too.
I didn't even know that. For kids?
For kids.
Maybe even for preschool, because we're still technically preschool.
If they can read.
Okay.
If they can read. Shout out to Miss Laura. She's dope. I don't know if you know Miss Laura. She's phenomenal. We've been in it. I want to say about 4 years, maybe 4 or 5 years, and they go through precepts on Wednesday nights, and our kids look forward to going. Ethan, before he could read, like you were saying, even though he couldn't read, they was telling him where to highlight, and then they would discuss what was going on, and so that's helped him, and being able to explain what was been going on in the scripture, right? So it's precepts there. So shout out to Cross City for precepts for kids. You know what I'm saying? So when you so y'all do it there at the house, is that like a regular occurrence, or like is it every day?
Yeah, we kind of build it into the routines. So Katie and I, and we kind of build it into similar to Katie and I's routine. So our routine is to get up, hopefully before the kids, which doesn't always work, but get up, have some time with the Lord, have a quiet time, be able to not be distracted. But we kind of try to do the same thing with them, kind of towards the very front of their day. So we want to teach them that we want to start our day with the Lord. We want to start our day with Jesus. So even if I'll precept for a second, but just starting our day with Jesus. That's what we do with the kids. Like you can go downstairs, you can turn on the TV, you can do whatever you want, but it has to be Jesus. So we'll throw on Right Now Media. We love that resource for kids. There's so much stuff on it. They're super into Slugs and Bugs and allegories and Superbook and even Veggie Tales. I get to relive some of my early church days, and so that. But really, we do the precepts when we're at the table for breakfast.
Oh, okay.
So, and more so, the precept at breakfast is for our kindergartner before she goes to school. Our 5-year-old who will start kindergarten in August. Hers can be kind of, a little after that, or when she goes to the babysitter shout out to Ashley, who will hopefully watch this later. She does precept with the kids at her house. And so Sadie will send her book and everything over there in her Bible, and they'll do that together as kind of a little collective group over at her house. So, having someone like that watches our child while Katie's kind of been back to work part-time and is about to go full-time next week. So she'll be going to her house every day, and just having someone too, which is another big part of you being a father, right? Having someone that you can send your kids to that you trust, and that's someone that is going to not only teach them about Jesus, but also model that for them as well. So finding that person, right? But the precept thing is always a morning thing, especially if they're with us. It's in the morning, starting our day with Jesus. We're throwing on, the worship jams or the Right Now media or Precept or whatever it has to be to really get our hearts and our spirits and our minds focused on what's most important to us as believers in Jesus.
That's what's up. So take me back to the time, because you have two. And I always want to talk to dads about the first time that they got to meet their kid. So, but I want to go the time that Katie told you that she was pregnant. Take me through that scene, and then take me to when you first met your oldest daughter.
So I think, thinking back, so we were in our apartment when Katie told me she was pregnant. And I think the first thing I remember is just being so fearful, so afraid, wait, I don't know if I'm ready for this. I'm, I don't know if I'm ready. Am I even old enough to do this? Am I, and it was super shocked, super surprised, excited.
You were surprised?
Yeah, I was real surprised. We had a couple surprises. None of ours were planned. They're all surprises. They're great surprises.
Yeah.
The funny story is, though, the second one for me was I kept saying, Katie, so if you're pregnant, this and this and then, she's like, no, I'm pregnant. And I'm like, no, I'll believe it when we go to the 6-week doctor's appointment. So the first one was better, I think, if you ask Katie. Katie especially. But man, just fast forward, those 9-10 months, and going to the hospital and getting to see the birth of my child, which I thought was the absolute most beautiful thing I'd ever seen in my whole life. I'd never seen anything like it. God just created the female body to be just so incredibly, just incredible to be able to do that. But being able to, even just cut the cord and hold her for the first time, it was a little bit of nervousness still on the part of, am I really ready to do this? I really have a child right here, but also at the same time, wow, she is a part of me. She was created in the image of God. Just being overwhelmed with kind of, people would say now all the feels, all the emotions and just a ton of adrenaline and I remember we got home from the hospital after staying a couple nights, and immediately what I did was drop Katie and the baby off and went to Chick-fil-A and got us food. So I dumped the baby in the wife, but no, but just coming back to Katie at the house, and she's like, what do we do?
Yeah.
If the baby cries, if the baby poops or gets a feed, what do we do? How do we know what to do? And, God just wired us so instinctly, husbands and wives specifically to just know what to do and how to react. And so, it was a special time to hold any babies, any of your own kids that come out.
That's funny. That is funny that she was like, now that because the reason why, for those that haven't experienced that, the reason why it feels like that, as far as what do we do, is because the hospital had done everything for those 3 days.
Yeah.
And you're just coming in, and then she's feeding the baby, and then you get to the house and you're like, oh, we got to do this by ourselves.
Yeah, like I
there's
gotta
no,
bathe the kid. I gotta help take care of mom because she's recovering.
yes,
And like, how do we? Like, I never changed a diaper, and my first diaper happened to be like the nastiest. The first poop after they're born. I was like, oh my gosh! Like, I had to use, I think, a whole pack of baby wipes, right? It's like I didn't know what to do.
that's hilarious. Hey,
They came to one wipe, right? You like fold it 16 ways.
Yes,
And all that.
that's funny. I told Jen, I was like, listen, I can't change boo boo diapers, man. Listen, you got wherever you at, you gonna have to come and get this.
Dude, yeah.
And that was like, I was like, I changed all these other ones. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll even clean up, throw up if that's the case. But these boo boo diapers, man, can you get them? But then I came to the point that I was like, I got to get over that.
Yeah.
And I did change them. Eventually.
I'm super good at poop. Like,
oh yeah, I still. Hey, if she's in the room, if she's in the room, and she's available.
I mean, I made it through it. Like, thank the Lord, I made it through it.
Yeah, but if she's available,
and if we have more, like, I needed strength to get through it.
Oh man, are y'all thinking about having more?
We've talked about it. We're not closing the door on anything.
Oh, okay.
We're also we feel called to adopt at some point too.
Okay.
So just kind of, when the Lord's ready, our yes is out there, and we're okay with whatever He's got.
That's what's up, man. So when you, so y'all had the first one, and then like 11 months later, y'all had another one, or a year later.
17 months later, we had another one. So I think Allie, our oldest, was maybe about 9 months old. We found out Katie was pregnant. Another surprise.
Wow.
Which is why I was like, are you sure? Like, I don't know if I believe you right now. It's like, so if you're pregnant, like, what are we gonna do here? And she's like, Kevin, I'm pregnant. It's like,
wow.
What? I'll let your doctor tell us when I hear the heartbeat, and then I'll believe you. No, but and I can't remember. I know we've talked about it, some of your kids. I can't remember how close they all are, but being 17 months apart, or being anywhere in that range, it's like having two babies. Mm-hmm. For the first year, at least, year and a half, you're packing 2 diaper bags. You got a double stroller now. You got two car seats. One's especially you're carrying, because the other one's kind of walking now, and you might just carry him and not throw him in the seat. And so it's but
it's still all
like
worth
twins, but it's like having twins.
Yeah, but it's all worth it though too.
Yeah.
Like, it's a crazy feeling. Now that I'm, as I look back and seeing them get older, and them coming into their own. I remember when they were young, I said, man, I wonder what they're going to be when they get this age. I wonder what they're going to be when they get to this age.
Yeah.
And they're at those ages, and to see their personalities being so different growing up in the same house. But and I used to think about, why are they so different? But somebody told me, it's birth order. And as well as you as a parent are different.
Right.
So, I was like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So like with G, we were pretty laid back. We were, in the beginning, we was like, what are we going to do with this?
Yeah.
But as we got, more comfortable, we was like, okay, this is what's going to happen, yada, yada, yada. And then the second one comes, we was like, oh man, we in trouble. You know what I'm saying? Because we was about, it was a headache, because we were moving, and transitioning from one job, not knowing if I had another job,
right.
Having a second kid, not having somewhere to stay. So that second, it was a lot of stress or whatever during that situation. However, coming to understand them as individuals as they proceeded to now, it's just a cool progression to see that these individuals that I'm trying to tutor, trying to mentor, trying to provide for, are taking a piece of me at some point. They're taking a piece of their mother, and so with that being said, have you seen any parts of you that you can see in your girls?
I mean, only the best ones, right?
That's what you say.
Yeah, I think I can definitely see parts of me scattered throughout both of them, and it's
So like what?
so for me, I was always very in school. I was very scholastic. I was very good at school. Whereas Allie, who's in kindergarten now, is reading at like a third grade level, and she's just absolutely killing it in school. But she's super intelligent, very, very smart, reads really well. Like I said, she also, both of the kids really are kind of interested in some of the art stuff, which is, I was way more on the art side than like the athletic side. I never really played a bunch of sports. I played some soccer and did a little bit of baseball stuff growing up, but I was, took piano lessons, and I played percussion and drums all through school. And like I said, I still do, and just kind of stepped away from that. I competed in high school for academics on UIL academics and things like that. So I was always much more prone to that. So I see a lot of that in Allie. I think she's going to do really good in school. And, Sadie, I see some of that too. Sadie's very intellectual, very smart, but she leads you to believe that she's really not as much. I don't know that that's really me or not. But Sadie, especially, I'm just being real honest. I'm a person who deals with a lot of anxiety, and like I'm a very tightly wound person who just, unfortunately, I've dealt with anxiety most of my life, and so we see a lot of that in her. And so I really try to speak into that for her, and speak the blood of Jesus over her, and just encourage her to cry out for him when she feels anxious, because he is our comforter, right? And so I see a lot of that in her, but also too, just she's very much a person who wears her heart on her sleeve, and a person who is just very sensitive to the needs of others. And I feel like that's encapsulates a lot of me. I wouldn't say that I now am maybe that way, but I do wear my heart on my sleeve quite a bit. For a guy, I'm pretty, I get emotionally involved in things, and and I tend to be a little more emotional than maybe your typical guy.
Okay.
And I think too, for me,
which is okay.
Yeah. I've learned to embrace it, learn to love it. And it's been great for my marriage, and great for, when Katie and I get to counsel husbands and wives and talk to them and give them advice, to be able to kind of speak to both sides of it has been advantageous for me. But really kind of tying back to the growing up early on closer with my mom, right? I feel like that has really kind of prepared me for the role of being a dad of girls right now. If he ever gives me another girl, but he's prepared me for such a time as this.
Yeah.
Right. And so being able to speak to them about, hey, it's okay to feel this way, or, mommy and daddy are making this decision, not because we feel that way, because God tells us not to judge or not to rely on our feelings, but to rely on the truth, and also to rely on what we feel like he is speaking and showing us to do, so just really kind of trying to bring everything together for them.
That's good stuff. That's a really good answer. I think that's super important for us to be those examples for our kids on a regular basis, because they are going to do more of what we do and not more of what we say.
Yeah.
So that's good. So we're going to segue into our questions.
Okay.
And this is where you don't know what the question is. You're going to have to give me a number between 1 and 45.
Okay.
And so I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to read the question. I'm sorry, I'm going to ask for a number. I'm going to read that question to you, and you just answer it to the best of your ability. Right?
Okay.
Nothing egregious.
Let's do 15.
Who was your best friend growing up?
His name was Cody Armstrong. And we lived in the same neighborhood. We'd ride bikes to each other's houses. I still have his phone number memorized from when we were kids. We didn't have to dial the area code.
Oh, okay.
We didn't have to dial the no 972, no 817, no none of
You
that
remember
stuff. It was seven digits, but 7231187.
Wow.
Or no, wait, 2301178. That was it. But yeah, best friend growing up. We've lost touch, and I've actually ran into him a few times as we've been adults and things like that. But yeah,
that's what's up, man. You were so fast. It felt like a rehearsed question, but you had no idea that when it didn't seem like it. I asked it, you didn't even think about it. You like, oh yeah, I got this. That's what's up. Okay, what's another number?
Let's do 37.
Did you ever get embarrassed when you was growing up? If so, what was it for?
Did I get embarrassed? I mean, yeah, I got embarrassed a lot. Trying to think. I mean, the immediate thought that comes to my head is the most embarrassed I've ever been is when I was in band. I told you I did percussion and drumline kind of all through high school, and
cool.
had a friend on my back, and I got pants in the middle of the band hall. Fortunately, it was just the shorts.
Okay.
Not everything, but that was pretty embarrassing for me. Just being someone who's a little more private, that. Can be a little more shy at times, but that was that. That got me for a while.
What was that? High school or middle school?
It was high school.
What grade?
So I was probably a junior or senior in high school.
Okay, so a lot of people, most people knew who you were being a junior or senior, probably.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. Okay, give me another number.
Let's do 7.
Which is the very best Christmas present you've ever received or given someone?
Oh, very best Christmas present. Man, that's real hard. I was just telling we okay. It has to be this Christmas because for this reason. I was talking to my mom this last year, and I said, we've talked about doing a trip for Christmas for a while. I said, because Mom, I don't even remember what you got me for last Christmas. I don't even remember any of that. I don't remember what Katie got me for last Christmas, the kids, my brother, sister-in-law, any of that stuff. So best Christmas present was in the craziest year ever in my life, 2020. We broke out and went to Colorado Springs for Christmas. Stayed in a cabin for a week. It actually snowed the 3rd and 4th day we were there. So we got to sled with the kids. We got to my Katie and my brother-in-law Kyle and sister-in-law Lena. My parents watched the kids, and we all went hiking. Found a really cool spot, and it started snowing while we were hiking. So it was just incredible.
Christmas movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like being in a Hallmark movie, pretty much. And my wife gives me a real hard time because I love Hallmark movies and all the cheesy Christmas movies. So it was like living in a for real Christmas movie. It was so fun. I'll remember that present for the rest of my life.
That's what's up. So did y'all pitch in, or did somebody just?
Yeah, it was what we kind of did. Is my parents just as part of the gift paid for the whole house and all that stuff. We just had to get there. So get there and we kind of split food up.
That's cool. So, okay. What's up, man? That's a really cool present. Just to add on to that, that's what we did. Mm-hmm. Well, we didn't go to Colorado, but as far as creating a memory is what our kids had. And I've said this on other podcasts. I had asked them Christmas 2019, we did these gifts or whatever. Let's try to think about what we want to do for the upcoming Christmas. And I think I had been talking to somebody about how they try to create memories with their family.
Yeah.
So I asked my kids, would you like to get gifts or would you like to do something? Because because I always save up monthly for Christmas.
Right.
And they was like, we want to do something. I said, okay, cool. So what was it? So this Christmas for a week, every day we did something. We planned it out and we did something where we went somewhere within the DFW area, and most of it revolved around video games.
Okay. Yeah.
So we went to round one. We went to what's this place over here? Another place over here in Fort Worth. I can't remember the name of it now, but they have like go-karts over there. We went to the movies, drive-in movies.
Yeah.
We had a video game day here at the house, and then did something else I can't remember. And then Saturday we went to Hibachi Grill, and that's how we capped it off.
Yeah.
And I asked them. I said, "Would y'all prefer gifts?" And it was like, "No, we like what we did this year." Yeah. And they didn't give any gifts, but that was the gift. That particular gift is what they enjoyed the most. So, like you said, creating memories is a big deal.
Yeah, and I think too, probably, for my sake and my kids' sake, and even like your kids talking about preferring it. It's not that they don't want the gifts and they don't want you to think about them and all that, but you sacrificed your time. I think it's such a big deal, right? You took the time and said, "Hey, we're going to do these things." And kind of tying back to the very front of what we talked about is like, that's a daddy move. Like, that's not a dad, that's not a father move. Like, that's taking it up, right? And being intentional about what you're doing.
That's what's up. Well, I really appreciate the time. I hope people like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get back at it. Like I was never down. And so I got two last questions. The question that I didn't prep you for, but the question that I asked is, who is the TV dad that you would compare yourself most to?
Ooh, TV dad. That's really hard. One, we don't watch a lot of TV, so I have to
It doesn't have to be now. Back. Yeah, it don't have to be now. It's like in your lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, like I kind of just think of any dad from like a comedy movie where the dad is just funny, and the kids love him, and he's the one that's always fun. But I also kind of think too at there's a movie we watched recently. I don't remember what it was called, but it was more of a faith-based movie, but just the dad, how he really encouraged the kids and loved on them. What was it? It's the police Christian movie. You know what I'm talking about? Courageous. It's Courageous.
This is what somebody said about you.
Tim the Tillman. There we go.
You agree with that?
I mean, I could do that because I'm handy. I like that. I would say Rebecca's husband's way more handy than me. So
he was funny too with his kids.
Oh yeah,
he was funny.
But going back to the dad thing, I think the dad from Courageous, if I can take a movie, because the thing that he did is he put a covenant in place so that he would be intentional with his kids and with his wife. And so I think as much as I want to be a fun dad, as much as I want to be the cool dad, and I want all my kids' friends to think I'm really fun to hang out with and do all of that, I also want them to spend time with me because they see me as someone who's wise. They see me as someone who is honest, someone who builds them up, and someone who can also help them know, or someone they can talk to, somewhere they can be that they feel safe, right?
Yeah,
I think those are all modelings too of Jesus in the first place. So that's the one that I want to identify with the most and be the most like.
Yeah, that kind of answers the last question, but I'll let you kind of wrap it up how you would like to, and that is, how would you like for your kids to remember you? What would you like for them to say about you?
I think, the thing that I want them to remember the most, and the things they want to say about me, is that Dad was committed to whatever he did. Like, he was a committed follower of Christ. He was a committed husband. Like, he was a committed, dad to us, where to the point, like we talked about, where he wasn't just a father, he wasn't just a dad, but he was our daddy. And that's, he was a man who, never went back on his word, someone who stood up for what he believed in, and someone who loved passionately.
That's good. That's what's up. Well, I really appreciate your time, Mr. Kevin. You have what last words would you like to say to any men dads that may be listening?
Just keep fighting the good fight, guys. It's as any of you dads know, or even future dads, like, it's not an easy job. It's not always the most fun job, but I can promise you that it's the most rewarding job.
That's what's up. Well, I appreciate your time, Kevin. Thank you for being a humble dad. And we out of here, man. Y'all take it easy.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely. Bye. Deuces.